So question, do you need a business plan? Answer, yes you do. Why do you need a business plan? It helps you define and organize your business strategy. It teaches you skills you're going to use throughout your business. So setting up ahead of time what your goals are, how you're going to meet them, those are things that you need to think about ahead of time, and this is what a business plan does. You also want to check the Fair Health consumer prices for your area. Those are usually what the outpatient hospital prices are, and they give you an idea of how much people are paying in your area for various services, and you'll use the CPT codes for those. So if you want to see what insurances are going to pay in your area, choose in-network, and if you want to see what a private pay price might be, check out-of-network. And it will make sense when you go and look on the site because they have choices, drop-down lists for that. The don'ts of setting your rate. Don't call other therapy practices in your area to ask what they charge. Technically, ASHA considers that price fixing, so that violates our code of ethics. It's fine if you want to call people who are in other states or that sort of thing, but they don't want you calling around and then everyone setting the same price in your area, because you have to set your price based on specific factors to you. So you don't want to just call everyone and then everyone has the same price in your area. So don't do that. It's considered a violation of our code of ethics. You want to set up HIPAA compliant email and document storage. So we're going to go over this more in the HIPAA section, but this is a very big deal. HIPAA is not something to be taken lightly. There's a fine of at least $5,000 per offense. And if you're not aware that what you were doing is against HIPAA regulations, they don't care. They're still going to fine you. This is through the Office of Civil Rights, and then the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services also have some jurisdiction over this, but it's a big deal. If you send an email that's not encrypted, or at least you attempt to encrypt it using a secure email, if you try to do teletherapy with Skype or Google Hangouts, which are not HIPAA compliant, those are offenses, and each time you do that, that would be considered an offense. So if you see 4 clients via Skype for teletherapy, that's $20,000 right there, because it's $5,000 per offense. So you really want to be careful and make sure that you are HIPAA compliant with anything that you have to do. Also, every practice should accept private pay as an option. So it doesn't have to be your only pay, but you do want to accept that as an option because some people will want to pay private pay. If you're going to become an insurance provider, you have to sign a contract with each insurance company. So some companies are known for approving SLP services, while some aren't. This varies by state, but across the board, United Healthcare, UHC, is pretty abysmal as far as paperwork and not accepting services and putting you in the ringer as far as paperwork and denials. So UHC, I would not try to work with them. But otherwise, Blue Cross Blue Shield may be great in one state and terrible in another state. Since it's all state-run, state-administered, it can vary completely across state lines. You do not have to become a Medicare provider if you do not want to. Medicare or Medicaid provider. Consider your target client. So which insurance will they likely have? Think about your area. Do you have mostly Blue Cross Blue Shield? Is it Humana? Is it something else? Think about which insurance most people in your area will have, and then consider contracting with them. What are the barriers to entry? So challenges that your practice faces and how you'll surmount them. So like I said, if you're trying to start a pediatric clinic and there are 10 pediatric clinics in your area, that's the challenge. How are you going to surmount that challenge? And then threats and opportunities. The challenges after you've overcome your initial startup barriers. So, hey, you have a pediatric clinic in a sea of pediatric clinics. After you've explained how you're going to surmount those barriers to entry, what are some challenges that you are going to overcome after those? So, you have a pediatric clinic. How are you going to continue finding clients if there's a whole lot of other options for them? What are the barriers to entry? So challenges that your practice faces and how you'll surmount them. So like I said, if you're trying to start a pediatric clinic and there are 10 pediatric clinics in your area, that's the challenge. How are you going to surmount that challenge? And then threats and opportunities. The challenges after you've overcome your initial startup barriers. So, hey, you have a pediatric clinic in a sea of pediatric clinics. After you've explained how you're going to surmount those barriers to entry, what are some challenges that you are going to overcome after those. So, you have a pediatric clinic. How are you going to continue finding clients if there's a whole lot of other options for them? So I'm including these CPT codes to check so that you can use the Medicaid and the Fair Health Consumer websites to look up these codes to see what the reimbursement rates are for them. So 92507 is the treatment of speech language, voice communication, and or auditory processing disorder for an individual. This is the majority of what you're going to be billing if you're just doing, basic speech therapy. If you're seeing groups and stuff, you'll use 92508, and that's with a group of 2 or more individuals. You can't see more than 4 because insurance won't pay for more than 4 kids at a time or group members at a time. And you often don't want to do 92508 because even the insurances that do pay for group do not pay very much. 92521 is for a speech fluency evaluation, so that's the SSI or something. 92522 is for evaluation of speech sound production, so if you're given the GIFTA or the CAP or the Arizona, that's just articulation, phonological processes, apraxia or dysarthria. 92523 is evaluation of speech sound production with an evaluation of language comprehension expression. So you'll notice that there's not an evaluation code just for language, because in general you're doing both. But if you do ever just evaluate language, you would use 92523, and then you would add the modifier of 52, which we'll talk about in the next section. It's a modifier that denotes that the process or the procedure is a little bit shorter than is generally considered for the procedure. So basically it's saying, I did 92523, but I also didn't do the speech sound production evaluation. I just did a language test. And then you would note that in your report. And a helpful portion of your website is a blog. You don't have to have a blog by any means, but it is helpful to at least have a page with resources for parents or links for parents, because that's how one way that parents are going to find your blog or your website, but it's also a way that they can see that you're there to provide them with information.